Hey, hey, I hope you guys are doing well today. I am just sitting out on my patio and kind of soaking in some of this heat, which I don't know, most of us are running from the heat, but my house is pretty cold. So every now and then I got to step outside to kind of warm up. But anyway, I'm just got some random thoughts today. I'm thinking about misunderstandings and, how misunderstandings affect our relationships and how we misread stuff. And it really gets us in a jam. Um, and that led me to think about why is it so difficult sometimes to clarify misunderstandings? And I know there's a lot of reasons. And I honestly, right now, this is some serious random thoughts. I'm kind of just talking out loud here, but this whole topic of misunderstandings is on my mind this morning. And why is it so hard for us to be understood and for us to understand others? And I have some opinions. Notice I said I have some opinions. Um, and I think one of the reasons that we struggle with misunderstandings is because we don't listen, right? Opinion, but I think we don't listen. We really um, don't get the distinction between hearing and listening. Those of you who are familiar with Charlie Brown, remember the old Charlie Brown episodes, uh, and that teacher who would be talking and she would be represented like this. She'd be going wah 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 wah. She just talking, and you heard what she was saying, but you didn't understand a word she said. Just you know, wonk, 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 wonk. That's how the teacher was represented. And I think that was the point that was intended to be made, that the children perceived her as sort of this talking head, just not making sense. And I think that's maybe a good depiction of of the difference between listening and hearing. Sometimes we hear people, we don't listen. And we make all kind of leaps and we jump to all kind of conclusions that lead us not to really understand. I remember back in high school, uh, there was this guy who finally approached me and I don't know, say hi or whatever. And after talking, I guess he realized that I was kind of a down to earth person. And he made this statement. He goes, I never approached you before because you were always so snobby. What? Snobby? Any of you that know me, and there's a lot of folks out there that know that the last thing you would describe me as is snobby. Like I am genuinely a down to earth person. I'm not hung up on myself. Um, I never have been. In fact, if anything, I was more insecure, and the teenage years. You remember that, but definitely not snobby. But I guess he had drawn that conclusion by some visual, which we do. Like we humans, we do that. We draw conclusions by the things that we see, and that can be very deceptive. Body language obviously is another form of communication, but the same stance doesn't always mean the same thing. Uh, you know, we always say that, for example, if somebody crosses their arms, that means they're stubborn or that they're closed. Well, sometimes I cross my arms just when I'm thinking. I'm just kind of locked into what you're saying. So this crossing the arms may mean something to one person that means something very different to another person. So this whole body language thing, gets us on this miscommunication, this misunderstanding tip. And the thing is, I mean, we don't take time. A lot of times, we don't take the initiative to get to know people. Right? That's the key. That's a lot of the key. To get to know people, or at least at the very minimum, have a conversation, right? Before you draw conclusions about people. I mean, how many times have we fallen out with someone? Or at least drawn a negative conclusion about somebody because we thought they meant something by what they did or by some facial expression or gesture, whatever, or how they said something, not what they said, but how they said something, and only to find out after some time has passed, precious time has passed, that you misunderstood them. These kind of things have cost us relationships. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've heard who aren't speaking anymore and haven't been speaking for years because they thought such and such said this or meant that, and it's but they never took the time to have a conversation or to talk about it, and so they live in this valley. I call it a misunderstanding, and I just think that's interesting, um, and I think that leads me to another reason why I think we often kind of live in this valley of misunderstandings. And I think there's an element of pride to it. Um, some people feel like, well, I shouldn't have to explain myself. Yeah, I did a neck roll there. Or, we assume that people should understand. How's that working? Again, I know I'm having some random thoughts here, and I don't know, maybe to provoke some of you to thought. Maybe you guys can jump in the conversation here and let's talk about it a little bit. But how does that position help with our relationships? I shouldn't have to explain. Well, I mean, you can take that position, but again, what's that going to cost you? When it comes to family members, I mean, I know family members that haven't been speaking for a long time, and just lots of scenarios where people take those hard stances, and I'll say the phrase, it costs you something. Sometimes we don't have time. We like, I don't got time for that. These are the things that we kind of say off the cuff. I don't have time for that. But there's meaning in those statements. We also find it hard to say, I'm sorry. That phrase. Okay, some of you, I know you hate that phrase. Don't say I'm sorry. I've heard parents say that. Say I apologize. Whatever, whichever way you go about it. You know. But why is that such a crime to say I'm sorry, or to go back and clarify? Or when we notice that we've been misunderstood, again, we take that position like, oh well, really? Oh well. I mean, I guess there's a time for that. Sometimes you can't speak to fools. If you're talking to fools and people just in fool position, then I agree that sometimes you just really can't waste word with people who are just outright fools. Um, but those are not such situations I'm really talking about, right? I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about really more in our maybe more close relationships, people we know, family, children, husbands, wives. I mean, there's even been books written about that, especially when it comes to husband and wives. We have those books like, I can't remember the exact title, but, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, or vice versa, but the whole point of that is that we live in this whole misunderstanding place. And, but what do we gain when we take those hard positions? Like, you know, I'm not going to explain myself, or they should understand me. And, I'm not going to waste my time with that. What do we gain by that? And so I just feel like life is short. People are valuable. I know we're I want to say we're coming out of COVID time, but we're in a weird time anyway. But this past year and a half perhaps should have, if we didn't know before how valuable people were, this past year or so should have brought that point home. People are valuable. And so, you know, life being short and people being valuable, I'd rather clarify what I did or said, or at least attempt to, um, and be in right relationship with somebody, or gain that person, or to, as opposed to dismissing them, or just kind of write them off as their feelings or their thoughts being insignificant, right? I mean, sometimes you even go back and you try to clarify, you try to explain, and they still don't understand. But I think the act of sincerity, the act of that genuineness, that whole that act makes a difference. Even at the end of the day, if I still don't understand you, notice I'm not talking about agreement, but if I still don't understand where you're coming from, the fact that you took the time to circle back around and say, hey, maybe I didn't say that right, or how did you receive what I said? And that goes a long way with people. I mean, how many marriages would be so much better off if we took that extra step and clarified, some of the things that that again that are misunderstood in communication with our children, in our work relationships. Like, what does it cost us? Like, why is that a crime? To take that extra step and make and try and attempt at least to make yourself understood, or to be understood. A lot less. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing about listening and thing, right? Maybe a lot less talking and a lot more listening. What did you say? Those clarifying questions. When you really want to understand somebody. And I just think that's what I don't know. I was just thinking about this understanding thing over the past couple of days. And I myself have been ooh, excuse me. Ooh, I gotta get sip of my coffee. Hold on a sec. Ooh, that's better. But yeah, I've been trying to put that into practice. Um, People say marriage is hard work. I'm just relating this misunderstandings to marriage, because that's one of those that we especially married folk, can really understand. And I've been trying to do that myself. Why is this particular thing an area that we always don't have clear? So I go back and I try to say it again, or I say, hey, did you understand I meant this, or that kind of thing. And believe it or not, it really does help. And so if we can take that extra step in all of our relationships, right, we probably would be all the better for it. Again, I'm just kind of talking random here and thinking about this misunderstandings. Maybe it's triggered something for you. Maybe um, maybe some tip in here can help. But I'm kind of committing to that I'm going to do better about making myself clear, or about sort of closing that loop on communication. Hopefully, in my own relationships, I can leave people in a better place, and perhaps be in a better place myself, and without drawing conclusions, and just kind of write people off like whatever. That whatever statement is dangerous. When you get to that whatever, I mean that's just wrong. That means you don't matter. That means I don't care what you think. And I know we live in this bombastic society right now where everybody's just kind of spouting off, and whatever they want to say, and not caring how they leave people, not caring what people think about them. And I personally am not in that camp, um, to a certain degree. Again, take out the fools, and just the random, kind of nuts that I call them nuts anyway. But overall, I want to be understood, and I want to take the extra time to understand people. Right? We live in a diverse, I live on the East Coast, for example. We live in a diverse society and culture, and there's a lot that gets lost in translation, literally, of language, of cultural things. We make all kind of assumptions. But anyway, I really don't have a significant point here to make, other than I'm just sharing these random thoughts about misunderstandings, and how I think maybe we can go through um, a couple extra steps to demonstrate our love for people and our genuineness to people. And maybe we can do better about connecting with one another, and living more in the valley of understanding than in misunderstanding. Anyway, carry on with your day. I'm gonna leave you with that. I'm just gonna kind of fall off right here because, again, these were just random thoughts. Y'all have a great day.